Hello students, in this video I'm going to start a new chapter, that is photosynthesis in higher plants. So this time let's discuss what is photosynthesis and what are the mechanisms that is involved in the process of photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is an anabolic process in which green plants synthesizes food in the form of glucose from carbon dioxide, water, and some minerals with the help of chlorophyll pigment in the presence of sunlight. So this is a simple process that is seen in case of the green plants, where the plants they can make a chemical substance which is called as the glucose, and this glucose it is known as food for every possible living organism. And this glucose it is made from the inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, water, and there some minerals are used, and that takes place in the presence of sunlight and the very important chlorophyll pigment, for which we see the color of the plants to be green, or the leaves, very importantly the leaves to be green. So as you know, that is because of the chlorophyll pigment. So this simple synthesizing process that takes place in the green plants is termed as the photosynthesis. Hence, the term is only given as photosynthesis. That means in the presence of light in order to make the food, that is the chemical energy or chemical substance that we refer to, which is called as the glucose. Now, what is the chemical reaction that is involved to be present in this photosynthetic process? And this chemical reaction, it seems to be a very simple equation, that is 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 12 molecules of water are required in the presence of light and chlorophyll pigment, and with this it makes a chemical substance which is called as C6H12O6 that we know to be as the glucose molecule, and along with that 6 molecules of six molecules of water and 6 molecules of oxygen that is eliminated or that is produced in the whole process. Hence, the chemical reaction that is involved here is 6CO2 plus 12H2O, and that gives C6H12O6 plus 6H2O plus 6O2 in the presence of light and chlorophyll, and this is only called as photosynthesis. So this seems to be a very simple process that goes on inside the plant's body, and especially in the leaves. Now let's discuss about the significance of photosynthesis, that why photosynthesis is required for all the living organisms. Photosynthesis is a very important process, and in fact the sole process that helps the living organisms to survive here on the surface of earth. As you know, one of the basic necessity for all the living organisms, that is food. Hence, the photosynthesis it helps in production of food. And the food that we refer to here is the glucose molecule. So the glucose it is synthesized in the whole process of photosynthesis. Therefore, the first significance of photosynthesis process is the production of food. Then comes the second significance: energy supply in the form of glucose for metabolic reactions. So this is the only molecule or the chemical that helps in synthesizing energy. So as you know, the energy for all the living organisms, that is called as ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. And this adenosine triphosphate, it is synthesized by the breaking down of the glucose molecule in the metabolic pathway that takes place during the process of cellular respiration. So this cellular respiration, we are going to discuss it in the next chapter. So for now, glucose molecule that acts as the substrate, or that acts as the only molecule that helps in synthesizing the ATP molecule there in the mitochondria of the cell. Inside the mitochondria of the cell, that the whole process of respiration, it takes place, and therefore it is said that the energy supply in the form of glucose is here. The glucose, it acts as the substrate. That means from the molecule from where the ATP will be made for the metabolic reactions. For any kind of metabolic reactions, as we know, that the energy will be required, and that energy, it will be made by the glucose molecule. And the third important significance is that regulation of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the environment. See, in the whole process of photosynthesis, as from the chemical reaction that you can see, regulation of carbon dioxide and oxygen, carbon dioxide that is taken from the atmosphere. By whom? By the plants. And that carbon dioxide that is used in order to make the glucose molecule, that is C6H12O6. And when this whole process, this metabolic process takes place, or the biochemical reaction that takes place, then that gives rise to a very important molecule, that is oxygen molecule, which is again a necessary or a necessary need for all the living organisms. So carbon dioxide and the oxygen level, that is regulated by the process of photosynthesis. So these are the three important significance, or the significance of photosynthesis reactions that is required in the whole living world. Now let me tell you about some historical facts about this whole process of photosynthesis. Behind the concept of photosynthesis, there are many persons or many scientists that is involved here, where the studies, they were done gradually, and new outcomes were found, or new findings were found in the coming years. And this whole process started with a viewpoint which was forwarded by Aristotle and Theophrastus, that they explained that the plants absorb all materials, that is inorganic and organic, directly from the soil, and in that way they complete the whole process of photosynthesis. So after that, many studies that went on, and in the year 1770, a scientist named Joseph Priestley, so he conducted a very famous experiment on candle, mice and a mint. So in the picture, as you can see, that they are kept closed glass jars. So as you can see there, that in the first case, there is a burned candle in a closed jar, and there is one mice. But the outcome that they got in the whole experiment is that the air inside the glass jar, it didn't allow either another candle to burn or the mice to survive. That means the mice and the candle in that glass jar, that are not compatible with each other. Then Priestley, he conducted the next experiment, and in the next experiment he kept a mint plant along with the burning candle. The candle kept burning and the mice didn't die. In that, Priestley called air produced by the burning of candle as phlogiston, and said that the plant converted into diphlogiston from their language. And after the study, it was found that the plant restored to the air whatever breathing animals and the burning candles they remove. That means the burning candle that produces carbon dioxide, and the plant, it produces the inhales the carbon dioxide. As we can see there, that they absorb the carbon dioxide in this whole process, and that leads to the production of oxygen, and in that way the animal inside the glass jar that also survives, and it also helps in the burning of the candle. So in that way, this was a very simple experiment that it is said that the air that is used in the whole experiment, so that is restored by the green plant. Then come another person in the year 1799, Jan Ingershaus. He discovered that the green parts of the plant purify the noxious air in the presence of light. So that was another finding that happened in 1799. Then there are many other persons which is involved in the whole process, such as Engelmann, Blackman, Robert Hill, Reuben and Kamen, then Kelvin, Hatchenslake, Huber, Michael, and Disenhofer. So in that way, they had contributed many facts about the whole process of photosynthesis. And this whole equation of the photosynthetic process, that is 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of light and chlorophyll, it produces glucose and 6 molecules of water and 6 molecules of oxygen. It was put forward by Cornelius van Niel. So this was a significant finding in the whole photosynthetic processes, and this equation, it was put forwarded in the year 1931. So these are some small facts about the early experiments that were conducted on finding the different processes that involves in the mechanism of photosynthesis. Where does photosynthesis takes place? So this is an obvious question that might be arising on your mind now. So the answer is photosynthesis, it takes place in every green part of the plant body, and especially the green leaves. And when the plant body is young and tender, we can see the stem to be also green in color. So at that point of time, the stem also is the site where photosynthesis takes place. But the main site of photosynthesis is always the green leaves. The green leaves, they possess a tissue which is called as the mesophyll tissue, which is parenchymatous in origin. These are the mesophyll cells or mesophyll tissues that we refer to. And these mesophyll tissues, they possess chloroplast in their cells. And as you know that a chloroplast, that is the structure, or that is a special plastid where a very important pigment is present, which is green in color, and this is called as the chlorophyll pigment. And because of the presence of the chlorophyll pigment in the chloroplast, the cells or the tissues which possesses the chloroplast, they appears to be green. So therefore, the site of photosynthesis will be the chloroplast. Chloroplast that is present in every green part of the plant body. So within the cell, the whole photosynthetic process or mechanism that takes place in the chloroplast of all the green parts of the plant body. So I hope I have made this clear to all of you that photosynthesis, it takes place in the chloroplast of the plant body, or the cells that bears the chloroplast. And the structure of the chloroplast, that was already discussed in the chapter cell, the unit of life. That the chloroplast, this is a semi-autonomous cell organelle. The chloroplast, it is surrounded by two membranes, that is the outer membrane and the inner membrane. And the chloroplast, it possesses thylakoids. Those are lamellar structures or plate-like structures that is present inside the cell organelle, which is called as the chloroplast. And these thylakoids, they are in the form of stacks, or they are arranged in the form of a parallel lamellar form, and together these thylakoids, they are called as the grana particles. And inside the chloroplast there are matrix, and this matrix, that is called as the stroma. The chloroplast, they bears their own DNA, RNA, and the ribosomes. So chloroplast, it is a very important structure for a cell, especially in case of the plant body. As you know, the chloroplast or the plastids, those are present only in case of the plant cells. It is not present in case of an animal cells. And for that particular reason, as the whole process of photosynthesis, it takes place in the chloroplast, therefore only plants can prepare their own food. Our cells or the cells of the animals, they cannot prepare their own food. It is only the characteristic feature of the chloroplast which is found in case of the plant cells only, where they can prepare the food which is called as glucose in the presence of sunlight, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide, and water. So this is the answer where it is said that where does photosynthesis, or where it was questioned that where does photosynthesis takes place. Now let's come to the requirements or the factors, the requirements that are involved in the whole process of photosynthesis. So the first requirement is light. So light is the important factor that is required in the process of photosynthesis. And here the light, that is the visible light of the spectrum of electromagnetic radiation, which ranges in wavelength between 390 nanometer to 760 nanometer. So generally this is the visible spectrum, and there's these discrete light particles, they are called as the quanta or photon. On this whole range of wavelength, that is from 390 nanometer to 760 nanometer, that comes in the range of Vibgyor. This is also called as photosynthetically active radiation, PAR. Then comes the photosynthetic apparatus. As you know that the photosynthetic apparatus, that is the chloroplast. So chloroplast that acts as a photosynthetic apparatus which is distributed in the mesophyll tissues in case of leaves, or the other parenchymatous tissue where the chloroplast is present, or which are green in color. In higher plants, there are 4 types of chloroplast pigments, and those are chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, carotene, and xanthophyll. So these are the 4 pigments that is found in the chloroplast of the higher plants. And the carotene and the xanthophyll, they are together called as carotenoids or beta carotenoids. And they're in the whole plant kingdom. So you will find different types of chlorophyll. The chlorophyll pigments that vary in case of the different divisions of the plant kingdom, but in case of the higher plants, that means mainly the angiosperms. So there we find chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B in abundance. So this is about the photosynthetic apparatus, which is the chloroplast. And then comes the important constituent, that is water. So water, as you know, water, it will be the capillary water which is present within the soil particles and that the plant body can access into. And this capillary water, so that is absorbed by the root hairs, and through the root hairs that comes to the roots, and from roots, so that is again passively transported to the leaves through the xylem vascular tissue, and in that way it reaches the leaves. So water, that is the capillary water, and the carbon dioxide, that is the atmospheric carbon dioxide. Now this is all about the 4 important requirements of the photosynthetic process. And with this I end this video today. Thank you.